Okay, here we are. We're a podcast doing some video stuff again here. We have some footage. Man, you killed it with the traditional equipment this year, and we talked about the footage on the podcast, and here we are putting that footage together. First, congrats again.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Had a blast this year, and
Yeah.
brought the little GoPro with me and stuck it up in the tree, and luckily had it rolling on both of my kills. So
Yeah.
that's pretty cool to have it. Have it for my own benefit, and then get to share it with people is really cool.
Yeah, it's easy but functional, and doesn't take away out of like you're not mother effing everything when you're setting up all your camera
there's no
equipment.
heavy camera arm. There's no big camera. It's just easy peasy. Press a button and go. You don't even know you got it in your pocket.
Good thing we're not a high end video production and we're a podcast, because we can kind of fall back like, we're not doing we're not making films here. We're just trying to get kills and then talk about it on a podcast pretty much. So.
Yep.
Very cool, man. Well, I think we should just cut into it. We'll just cut into it, and we'll play the kill footage, and then maybe if we need to, we'll commentate over it.
Cool.
Sweet. Let's get into it. Set the scene, Austin. What's going on right here?
Yeah, it's one of those mornings, November 8th. Got a light frost on, and you can see it's knocking all the leaves off the tree. It's raining down. It's that morning when you want to be in, it's like the transition where the leaves are starting to come down. It just feels bucky. You're like, man, old big boy's going to come out of the woodwork now.
It looks bucky in there.
Yep, it's a killer spot. I love that spot. One of my favorite rut spots. But
we got in. So now this is the GoPro footage, like over the shoulder type.
Yep.
Man, I like how you were just like working class has got to be the first thing on the camera.
Yeah, I thought about that. I'm like, well, I better spin this around backwards for Kurt. But no, when I shoot my recurve, my bill gets in the way, so I always flip my hat around backwards when I'm shooting the recurve.
You should have cut out the bill like old T-Bone.
I actually had an old hat like that with a triangle cut out of the bill.
So what's going on here? Set the scene.
Yeah, you can see me. Keep looking back to my right, be to the west, and there's a doe had come up, and this buck was behind her, and I had got my binoculars up and got a look at him and analyzed him enough and knew he was an old enough deer that I was going to try a shot if he'd give it to me. And right now I'm ranging her, and she gets up to about 20 yards. And he actually came in a little closer. He was probably only 15, 17 yards when I shot at him the first time. But my body kind of gets in the way of this first shot. You can't really see it. You can just catch a little bit of the buck as I shoot.
It's cocky, though. I know there's guys that film traditional kills and stuff, but, like, I don't know. To me, it seems cocky. You're like, first year in, you're taking the time. See, I would have been like, man, screw this camera.
Well, I knew that he was preoccupied and his eyes were locked on her, so if I was going to get away with anything, that was the time to do it. So, yeah, they're 30 yards, and I'm monkeying with the camera.
So she's not in frame yet, I don't think.
Nope, not yet. But when you can see her move, and then he's even closer to me, you'll just be able to catch a glimpse of him right before the first shot. But it all happened pretty fast. He went to nudge her and kind of move her, and she came right towards me, and then he was following, so he pushed her in the right direction. It worked out perfect.
Yeah. It's a cool angle. You can see some deer moving up there to your left now.
Yeah, there's a little buck up there that was coming in. Obviously knew that this big buck was on this doe, and he's just kind of waiting his turn like little bucks do. And after the shot, you get to see him come back into frame, and he's trying to get on that doe, and he's honestly probably the reason I ended up shooting that deer.
He gets a free pass forever now. He's been pardoned.
If I had an ear tag in him, he might get a pass.
So there's the doe.
Yep.
Oh, there's the buck.
In the first shot, you can see him run. He goes up about 60 yards, and he's standing up on the hillside, and I can see with the binoculars, I can see the exit, and I could just tell that it probably wasn't low enough to get a lung on him. And he was kind of flicking his tail, but I was watching his behavior as he watched this other little buck come in towards the doe.
So there's the other little buck cutting in front of you right there.
Yep.
Between you and that other buck, the buck you just shot.
Yep. The doe and the little buck just kind of like froze, like, what was that? Why'd everybody leave? And I was glassing that buck up on the hill, and you can see as they kind of move around me and come around behind me, that little buck was bumping that doe, and the big buck saw it, and he just couldn't take it. Even though he'd just taken an arrow, it was a high shot, but you can actually hear him in the video. You can hear that big buck grunt right before I shoot him. He's grunting and following that doe and that little buck. It's pretty insane to shoot one and then hear him grunt. But yeah, I was pretty shook up. That was a big buck at 15 yards, and I thought I was going to smoke him, but for whatever reason, that it's tough for me on that recurve to get low enough on the shot.
Yeah, I can imagine that the aiming point's got to feel real weird. But I like this footage, even though it's not like, you know, zoomed in outdoor channel quality. It's you get a grasp on what's going on.
Yeah, you get
everywhere.
You get the gist of the hunt, and that's why I did it. It was for my own benefit, and it just turned out well enough, and I've had enough people interested to see it.
Yeah.
We figured why not put it together and make something out of it.
Yeah, this is great. So there's that little buck moving on to the right.
Yep. And he wasn't a bad buck. I mean, you can see some antler on his head. He wasn't, you know, but not a shooter, just a nice, solid young deer.
Yeah.
I just love that you can see all those leaves coming down. It really was a beautiful morning.
It's like textbook Midwest hardwoods.
Yep. Lots of acorn trees, lots of oak trees in there, and the acorns are loaded up. About the first 2 weeks of October in that spot are really good. There's a lot of deer feeding on acorns right there. There goes the doe.
That's the doe from earlier that your buck was chasing.
That was the doe that the big buck was on.
There's your buddy.
Yep, he was about 10 yards when he went by.
You gotta name him.
Lucky. Yeah, and you can see my buck right here approaching on the right side of the screen. And there was two trails. I thought he was going to take the closer one to me and come out at about 25 yards from me, but he opted for the further one. And I was kind of ranging a few early holes, but I'm like, well, I can't really shoot him quartering on to me. And so I just waited, and I wasn't even honestly going to shoot. And
that's him coming from the right now.
Yep. You can actually hear him grunt. There's one small opening. Bam.
Did you hear that pop?
It popped him. And his reaction was good. I mean, that's what you want to see.
Yeah.
They just take off. You can tell they've been hit good, and I was pretty jacked. I honestly couldn't believe it.
What a follow-up, man.
That was a bomb. 31 yards with the old longbow is a bomb.
What a follow-up, man. Killer footage. Cool, man.
Yeah, that was awesome. I don't get sick of watching that video.
No, it's kick-ass.
So I'm like, oh, I can't believe I just made that. So I started ranging stuff, and I was getting like 35. I got down, and right at first blood, he was at 31.
How long did you wait?
Oh, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Probably waited 15 minutes just to make sure that little buck and that other doe was gone. And
yeah.
Climbed down and found the arrow, and found the arrow on the first shot. He carried the second arrow with him.
All right, I was going to take the camera down, but I'll just leave it there. I'm a little shook up. That is the first buck I've ever shot at with traditional archery equipment. Right here he was, I don't know, close to 20 yards, and I backstrapped him, just shot really high on him. He went around, this other little 8-pointer come right under me, bumping his doe. He come back. He crossed over there. I think he was close to 35 yards, just guessing. And I'm not used to shooting that far, so I just aimed high and looked like it dropped right in there. I hope it did. He took off like a bat down a hill, like he was hit good. He's not a high scoring deer, but he's old. Good mass, wide, just a bruiser of an old deer. Be very happy to take him for my first traditional buck. I'd say the rut's on, boys. It's been crazy the last few days. Been in the 70s for highs and still deer running really well. Been seeing a lot of movement all day long on cameras and in person. And this morning I've seen 3 or 4 different chases. It's the 8th of November. I got down, looked at blood. Looks like good blood right at the shot, and the way that deer reacted, I think I smoked him. He was 31 yards, just way out of my wheelhouse. I don't even know why I shot at him. I guess I was just amped up enough, but there's your buck, Shad. Shad Spike just walked by at 5 yards. Had deer all over me this morning. It's been fun. I hope I get that dude. He's not going to be a high scoring deer, but he's just an old bruiser. Just a really perfect deer for me with the longbow. A deer that I'd probably never consider with my compound, but just really be a good deer to have with my longbow. So, fingers crossed.
We're back in here hunting this first week in November. See one truck. But we're sitting here having a beer before we go in and look for my bucks. I shot him about 7:45 this morning. It's going to be about 2:30 by the time we get back in. So hopefully that's long enough. I think it's a liver shot. The blood was dark. We trailed him maybe 100 yards, 150 yards this morning. So we backed out, left him alone. It's been warm all day, so the meat probably won't be good, but I guess the bigger picture, we're trying to recover the deer. So we'll get in here and give it a go. Hopefully it works out.
Look at that shot.
Oh yeah. Perfect.
He's an old deer.
He's good looking deer.
He's, like I said, he's short on his left side. I knew what he was, but he's, I mean, look at the gray in his ears and his face. That deer is 6, 7 years old now.
No doubt.
Pretty, man, look at that. Look at him. Look at that deer. Did him an alley, didn't I? I just pulled the arrow out. The arrow was still sticking out of him. What do you think of that? Get up there and look at that rack. What do you think of that rack? Man, look at them tines. Oh. Look at that. What do you think, honey?
It's not bad.
Not bad? That's a good buck.
It is.
That's a really good buck. Bladed up on his 3. Like I said, that's just a perfect buck to look at with a longbow. My compound, a deer like that doesn't even get looked at, but with the longbow, I was happy to shoot at him. And I honestly got shithouse lucky. Put a perfect shot. I mean, I couldn't ask for a better shot. It wasn't double lung, but I'm guessing it was 1 lung liver. That blood was dark. We did the right thing and backed out. Left him for 7 hours. He's stiff. He's been dead a while. I'm glad I did.
What a blood trail, huh?
Yeah, I was a bitch. Dude, look at the beam length on that
He's got
side.
a nice beam line.
Wraps around.
Mm-hmm. He comes back in pretty tight.
Tickled pink with him. And he's like I said, he's 19, 20 wide. He's wide. Cool. Well, we just recovered my first ever traditional archery buck.
I passed up a lot of young deer, 3 and 4 year olds that were, a nice deer, 120, 120 type deer. I told myself the first old deer that I got an opportunity at, I was going to take him, and this deer was perfect. He's a deer that I wouldn't really consider with my compound, but I was really stoked to get a shot at him with the longbow. First shot, I actually give him a haircut right here, and the exit's about 2 inches lower right here. I just barely missed his spine. That was it, probably 15 yards. And he ran up on the hill, and there's another little buck that tried to get to his doe. He saw that, and he wasn't having it. He came back in after him and stopped in one opening that I had, and it wasn't a very big one. And the shot was way out of my range. I honestly didn't even think about it. I just pulled back and shot when I had it. And the arrow, I could see it arched perfect into him, and I could hear it smack him, and when it hit him, he took off like a bolt of lightning. And just watching his reaction, I figured it was a pretty good hit. He run a long ways, probably 500 yards. Blood trail was spotty, but there was no exit. It was just a perfect shot. It looks like lung liver, and yeah, just didn't bleed a whole lot. But having one entrance hole with a little, it's a little 3-blade. It's a big head. It's 175 grain, but it's not real big cutting diameter. So just not a whole lot of blood. I was a little discouraged there towards the end, but here he is. Man, old gray ears, gray nose, just an old freaking tank. I'm elated with him. Well, there you have it, guys.
Yeah.
There's my 2020 very first traditional archery kill. Very special, very cool to have it all on film. And, yeah, I'm just really stoked with the way the whole thing turned out.
It's crazy, man. Long bombs. You didn't even realize you were making a long bomb because you're in the zone.
I didn't even think about it. I just saw that opening and sent it.
Hey, I mean, you already shot the buck, so it's like you got to follow up with it, you
Yep.
know? So, killer shot, man. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Footage is cool. Like, we're not movie makers by any means, but that's perfect.
Yep.
If you can look back on it as a memory.
Yeah.
Anybody
I'll show that to Cody when he's 20
Oh,
years
yeah.
old, and he'll like to look back on that.
That was his first deer recovery ever.
Yep.
That's pretty cool. How old is he?
5 years old.
That's awesome, man. That is cool. I'm going to get Isla out to hopefully do the same thing. Next year we'll do that and all that. But no,
Very cool.
That was cool, man. Congrats.
Appreciate it, dude.
We have another traditional buck video that'll be on the way soon. I don't know when it'll be out compared to this one, but
Yep.
doubling down, man.
Yeah, I got lucky.
Well, cool. I'll give you the honors of the go shoot your bow on this one.
Yeah, well, thanks for watching, everybody, and you know what to do. Go shoot your bow.
Perfect.